Hey, welcome in everybody. Looks like we have 10 participants so far. I will let everyone else kind of file in. I assume we'll have a few more. But we'll go ahead and get started since it is the 1:30 mark here in Eastern time. Um, okay. So, just a quick announcement, PSA, if anyone in here is a current client and you just started using Togal, but you're looking for the custom training sessions, this is not it. This is the live public webinar for external attendees. So please refer to your welcome email and go ahead and register for the appropriate training, which I believe is happening now. Okay, but for everyone else, if you're in the right place, welcome in. My name is Anthony. I am one of the reps here at Togal. And the purpose of this webinar is to do a quick and easy walkthrough of the Galaxy's best takeoff tool. So with that said, we will go ahead and kick things off. Um, so what is Togal? Let's do a general introduction. Again, this is a quantity takeoff tool. Where we fit into the whole space because there's a lot of quantity takeoff tools, a lot of ways to take your plans and get quantities and materials from them. So back in the old days, right, we started off printing out sheets, measuring with a ruler, pen, pencil, paper. Okay. Then came all the other takeoff tools. It's a very competitive environment now when it comes to this software. There's a lot of tools that have been around for a very long time. We took everything that those tools do and we amplified it, obviously with AI. So we've been doing this since 2019. We added a lot of automation to get rid of most of the manual work that is required of you when you upload plans into your current software, if you have a current software. With that said, though, hope you're seeing my screen. We are not replacing an estimator. We're not replacing a person. We're not selling something where you can upload your plans and it has a mind of its own and it completes a takeoff. Okay. So if that's what you're looking for, it just doesn't exist. I apologize to be the one that had to break the bad news. This is not the case with Togal. All right. This is just a better tool than everything else out there. So we're going to get rid of a lot of manual tools. That's what I'm going to show you today. This is going to reduce a lot of errors because you're going to have so much time back in your day to review these plans. Instead of starting from zero, you're starting at 80%. You're going to hopefully get more bids out the door. If you're a subcontractor, you're going to have an entire environment where everybody can access plans and communicate within the tool. So here's my little analogy to kind of drive this point home. On the left is the traditional method of doing takeoffs in any other software. You got to think about it like you're using a hammer and nails. Where Togal is going to come into this whole equation is we're the power tool. Just like a power drill, we're going to get a lot more accomplished in a shorter amount of time. But this thing doesn't have a mind of its own. My power drill is not going to build a bookshelf by itself, right? And just to do a little bit of selling here, we're at 7,000 users and counting, 30 different countries and counting. We're growing immensely. We've been at it for a good number of years now, and this is truly becoming a staple in most spaces of construction. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the software. So bear with me here while I switch my screen and we get this thing going. Another PSA for anybody that's attending this. Oh, we're at 20 participants now. All right. Welcome in to all. You can, at any point during this conversation, type in the Q&A and ask questions. I'll try to address them as they come along. And then also, if you have a very, very specific question, just so we don't derail the demonstration, I'm putting my email in here, Anthony@Togal.AI. Shoot me a message after this, ask me some specific questions, and we can also do a custom demonstration using your plans. All right, with that said, I'm hopping back over to my other desktop. If you can't see it, go ahead and alert me in the messages, but we will go through this walkthrough. So when you log into Togal, this is what it looks like. This is the home dashboard. Hopefully it's easy on the eyes. That's a big theme here, is just to make takeoffs easy. This thing exists on the cloud. I can access it from wherever I'm at, whatever device. If I leave the office, it's not downloaded to my computer. I can go home and pick this up where I left off. Okay. Andres, I think it is being recorded. So cloud-based, there's unlimited storage in here. We don't charge you on how much you use it. There's no fine print. It's a one-time cost, or it's an annual one-time cost. Okay. So as you can see here, all of these tiles are my individual projects. Before I jump into a project, I want to show the collaboration. So I have this shared with me tab down here. These are projects that I'm sharing with my entire team. You can see there's multiple users, even when it was last modified. Why is this important? I can upload a plan and add my entire team in here, either as an editor or as a viewer. Okay. So editors can do a takeoff with me. Viewers just have access to my notes and my plans. Think project managers, superintendents, your client, anybody that you're probably sending emails and PDFs back and forth with all day. They can access your plans. Otherwise, if you have multiple estimators, well, it's all hands on deck within Togal. I have this project in here. You can see my takeoff, my notes, but maybe I asked my teammate Casey to do the drywall and the framing, right? While I did the flooring and the insulation. So this is his takeoff on the same set of plans, and I can take everybody's work and combine it. So if somebody's out sick, you don't lose any time. I can just go grab their work. If they're working remote from overseas, they can still work with me on this project. We don't lose any time. There's our collaboration. Hopefully, very straightforward. This opens tons of doors into efficiency for everybody. I'm going to jump into my demo project here. I've got all kinds of things, but we're going to start with the main part, which is the floor plans. Actually, before I get into the floor plans, I have one more bell and whistle to show you. I've got this Togal chat. Togal chat, think ChatGPT, Gemini, language models. This is just our version of that, designed to read your construction blueprints. How does this help you? Typically, if you're looking at a project for the first time, whether it's a new build and you get a giant spec book, or it's a remodel even, and you get a project manual. In any case, you got to figure out what the heck is going on. What's relevant to me, what doesn't matter, what am I missing? This kind of information. Instead of spending an hour reading through this or more, I'm a slow reader, so it probably would take me much longer. I can start asking my project questions. Hey, what's the scope of work for drywall? The project or the chat will read through all your documents and it will create that scope of work. If you want it to be more specific, if you want it to hyper focus on something, just go ahead and ask in a more specific way. A lot of our users, they'll have a list of prompts that they type in here for every project as if it's a checklist. It scans through this. Within minutes, they can determine what's important to them, what do they not need, what's missing that's important to them. And then they can ask it to write an RFI. I mean, the possibilities are completely endless with this thing. It does the reading for you, summarizes finished schedules, on and on and on. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. If there's any questions, again, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, I'll move on with the presentation. This is your chat feature. It's your free assistant within Togal. Now let's go into a floor plan. I have hotels, multifamilies. We have tons of users that are also just, one user home builders. Okay. So don't think that this has to be a massive project inside of Togal, but I just want to show you something kind of extreme so you can see its capability. So I look at a floor plan for the first time. This thing is, again, very simple. There's 20 buttons to learn. That's it. I've got my keyboard shortcuts where I can open in a menu here. So I'm going to go through this very quickly because I'm a super user, okay? But just know that we can teach you how to do all of this. Within Togal, all of the manual tools that you're using in your current software or that you would use in another software if you're considering another one, it still exists inside of here. So if I go to this plus sign on the right side, I will create what we call a classification. This is anything you're measuring. It can be an area, line, or a count. Say we're doing floor. We'll keep it super simple. I want to create an area, and this will be my LVT. I want this to be blue. I have my quantities here. I can add up to 8. This can get real complex if you want to build like a mini assembly here. Okay. In this case, maybe I want my area and the baseboard around the room. I will now hit save. I've just created this classification, or some might call it a condition, and I can zoom in and start doing the flooring in this studio, right? So this is your process in any other software. This is what everybody else will sell you. I can double click when I'm done. Ta-da, there's my area. There's my perimeter. Okay. Where Togal really separates itself from the rest is before even going into my AI takeoff, this is just way, way more flexible, way smoother of a tool. You can see I'm moving this thing around. It's not lagging. I can pick up the polygon. I can copy and paste it 5 times if I want without my screen blowing up on me. Okay. I can zoom in here. I can remove an area. I can cut from the edges. I can split. So if I hit S on my keyboard, or here are your control buttons over here, but again, I'm using my shortcuts. I can cut this thing. I can turn this entryway area into carpet, for example. Hit save. It's done. Even manually, Toggle is a way, way more powerful tool. I can't express that enough. With that said, I know that's not why you're here. So I'll show you some of our, cooler bells and whistles. I'm going to pause for 2 seconds and check out the Q&A. Sure, Stephanie, it works with everything. It's just a takeoff tool. So if you're using one now, you can do the takeoff in here as well. Okay. Um, I'm going to erase these classifications I made. And now let's start from the beginning. So where does Togal help me out? Well, I can sit here and trace every wall, every floor, count all the aspects of this floor plan. Or I can click this green toggle button and tell the tool to process the sheet. There we go. I hope nobody blinked. So you can see a lot of markups on the page. We see a lot of data on this right side. Let's keep it simple. This really just boils down to these 3 folders where Togal says, here's your areas, here's your lines, here's your counts. Okay, these are the most repeatable aspects of a floor plan that we can teach this model to read right now. So under areas, I've got the total footprint of the building. I've got the net area, 17,797 square feet. These are all individual polygons. The bathrooms are separated from the corridor, from the bedroom. I've got an area of all the doorways. I've got a gross area. I've got a center line that measures all of these openings, 91 door center lines, 290 linear feet so far. I've got a wall center line. It goes right through every single wall. I've got a wall perimeter that measures either side of the wall. And I've got counts, 89 single swing doors, 2 double doors, 37 toilets, 62 sinks, etc. So this has done all the grunt work for me. Now I can stop here, or I can turn this into a more complex takeoff. Let's say we're doing flooring or paint or any finish on here. I'll just focus on this net area because you'll see a lot. You're about to see a lot right now. So if I want to do some flooring, for example, I can select all of these net areas. All I'm doing with my box, that's my auto select. You can select multiple things. You can just select one section. So I'll auto select everything. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down to this other green button here. It's my option to auto classify. So when I auto classify this, the software says, hey, I've separated all of these areas into groups. Now I'm going to verify. Okay, we've got bathrooms, we've got bedrooms, corridors, elevators, hotel rooms. This is how it's separated this project. So if I can take the 2 groups it's calling bedroom and hotel room, and maybe this is getting my LVT, well, I'll just grab them and kind of reassign them to my own custom finish LVT. So this will be LVT. It's blue. Maybe I want the area. Maybe I want a tile count. And I want to add a unit cost per tile. We'll call it $5 a piece. Now we just have to put in the size, say, I don't know, 7 by 24. Now this is me adding more detail to really make this a more complicated takeoff. And just like that, I have 10,269 square feet. I have 8,807 tiles here. Okay. So in the same way, I can grab the bathrooms and do a bathroom tile takeoff. I can grab the corridor and assign a carpet. This will take me seconds. Just to continue with this and show you kind of a different concept, let's look at these wall perimeters. Say we're doing drywall. I can have an entire library of classifications. Okay. This is your template, your database. You guys can save these amongst your entire team as an organization, or everyone can have their own private library. This is my demo. So I'm going to go into my private demo library, and you'll see all of my classifications that are pre-saved with a lot of complexity. Some of them have formulas and prices. So if I'm doing drywall, I'll go down to my drywall folder and I say, all these hotel rooms have 10 feet of drywall. So I got 4x8 sheets. They're double-sided. I import that classification. Now I can do the same exact thing. We can select everything in here, have Togal auto classify, and I can just take the bedrooms and what it's calling hotel rooms, right click, and assign that to 10 feet of drywall 4x8 sheets. Now they're all the same color. And over here, you can see I have the total length of the walls, 64,293 square feet, about 2,009 sheets of drywall. My little cherry on top is that I can now see this in 3D. Everything I do vertically, I can see in 3D mode. Helps me fix mistakes, catch errors, or it's just a nice little cherry on top because it's a cool tool. You can send a screenshot to the client, whatever the use case here. These are the basics of my flat takeoff. I can take these floor plans, RCPs, scan it, use my library to auto assign. If you need to change something from your templates, like this 10 foot of drywall, you always have the option to open up this menu and automatically edit. And it will not affect the original template in your library. Okay, a couple other things. Let's jump to doing okay on time. Let's jump to mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Okay, where Togal is going to help with these types of things is I have search functions. I can search by image. I can search by text. Okay, so give me a sec here. I'm seeing a little bit of a lag on my presentation, so bear with me. I'm going to turn my camera off just for a second, see if it'll free up some bandwidth here. Okay. So I hope everyone's still seeing my screen. Looks like you are. Let's jump into the searches. So this is a very complicated example, but I want to get the point across, right? So if you're doing your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, maybe you're looking for door tags, window tags, something across the drawing. This all works the same way. I can go to this magnifying glass on the left side, and we can start with text. So if I'm looking for these callouts, for example, L22D, I search that. Total immediately says, hey, you have 149 of those tags. What's especially cool is I can click this button to search the entire set for my L22Ds, and it says you got 298 of them. I can remove the ones that I don't want in my final result by just clicking on them. And then I can assign this to something from my library. So once Togal converts those, we have more data behind them. Not only do I have the count, I've got a hardware calculation that I did when I saved this. I've got a waste factor. I've got linear feet of wire. I think I put a calculation in for like an extra 2 to 5 feet of wire per fixture and some random calculation. This is just to show you what you can do with just one search. You can also search with an image. So if I scan this image, of this tag, probably want to get a better scan. Togal will do the heavy lifting. You don't have to play Where's Waldo and click 101 times looking for each of these items. Little cherry on top, when you're doing images with text within them, you can refine by the search. So if I just want to see my C's, now that is filtered down to 9 of those C's. Okay. That's our text and image search. A lot of different use cases for this. The last thing I will show is elevations. We can also do some exterior asphalt if you'd like. So another cool tool that I have in here is a pattern search. This works in multiple scenarios. Primarily elevations. This is where we started with this tool, but it also works for site work, finished plans, landscape, hardscape, mostly hardscape than landscape. Landscape gets very complex. But when I focus on a pattern or a color, I can take a little picture of it and let Togal do the heavy lifting once again. So if I'm looking for this horizontal siding, ta-da, Togal has identified where that horizontal siding shows up. And now I can call this my horizontal drip board. Over here, it's measuring the total area. So if I want to complete the elevation takeoff, I can grab a pattern search here. There's the other board. We'll just call this siding 2. And I have this takeoff. In the occasion where it knocks out some windows, but not some others, this is just AI for you. Remember, you still have the ability to clean this up. So I can back that out. I can also copy and paste a cut, which is quite impossible in most other tools. And you can use your mouse to guide it and paste those backouts. Boom, boom, boom. There's your clean elevation takeoff. And then finally, we can do the windows as well. I can use my image search again. Scan this. Togo identifies where that tag shows up, but I have to give the tag meaning. So I'll say that's my 6x6 type B window. And just like that, I not only have the count for those windows, I have the total area that they take up. I have the total frame perimeter. Maybe you're doing waterproofing or you're doing painting or you're installing those frames. And I've got a calculation for hardware. This is a quick elevation takeoff. Hopefully that's extremely clear. Now, the pattern search, remember, it's not just for elevations. The world is your oyster on what you can use this for. If you need to get an area and you have a clean pattern or a clean color, well, this thing will turn a 30-click problem into a 2-click problem. From here, say we're all good and ready to export our takeoff. I'm going to jump back into this floor plan because we have a lot more information here. I have my Excel export button. So when I want to export all this information, I can use the options up top to do so. So right now, it takes all the information that Togal has read for me and it dumps it into this tab. But I can group the information, for example, by classification type, which will separate my areas, lines, and counts. I can also do folders or phases or all kinds of other methods of organizing. And then we can filter this information. So say I just want to do my LVT and my drywall that we did today. Well, there it is. Just how I had it set up. My quantity 1, quantity 2, quantity 3. Over here, I'm getting my total cost for that LVT since we put in a price per tile. You can also export to PDF with a legend. Turn the layers you want on or off. And we can do comparisons. So if I want to lay one sheet over the other, do the old red is dead, blue is new technique that is still available inside of Togal to find your revisions. There it is. These are obviously not the same sheet. Now, hopefully, I have addressed at least what was top of mind for Togal. As far as learning this software, I'll kind of describe the offering that you get with as far as training and support. Another piece that really separates us from the rest is this training schedule. Every single user of Togal gets unlimited custom training. So these 3 group onboardings are live sessions where you can ask questions weekly for the entire year that you are subscribed to Togal. Now, once you're done with these onboardings, it may just take 1 or 2 sessions for you to really get the hang of this. We do an ongoing support service, which is called our office hours. So every morning and afternoon, you'll be able to jump in, ask our team questions, and maybe it's a new feature that we've uploaded or just some issue that you're having with the software or a project. You can talk to us on a live call every single day. We will make sure that it is impossible for you to fail on this software. Again, that's completely unlimited, 13 sessions every single week with our team. Okay, now that's a mouthful. We have a few minutes left, so I'll open up the floor for any questions, concerns. Let me take a look at the Q&A. Andres, what would you say is the difference between Togal and on-screen takeoff booster option? So here's my take on the AI takeoff boost, and frankly, every AI takeoff that is kind of starting to show up now. Well, I already kind of said it. They're just starting to show up. Boosts kind of popped up in the last year. Everyone's sort of trying to catch up. I would also try to catch up and say that I have AI if I was losing 100 users a month. Boost is simply not as effective as this. They kind of have their own version of this button. It doesn't read half of what my tool reads, and not even a third as clean or as sharp. It's kind of a band-aid solution to throw out an offering. Feel free to ask them for a demonstration. Make sure they use your plans. You'll kind of see they're in the very early stages. I don't know if they will ever get here. Andres, I see your other question. I subscribed for ASPE estimating course and Togal.AI subscription is with it. How do you activate it? I have no idea about the ASPE estimating course, so I'm not involved with that whatsoever. What I suggest is you email support@Togal.AI and they will get this squared up for you. Again, that's support@Togal.AI. Hey, Stephanie. Yeah, sorry we didn't really get into the weeds with joist and decking. You can email me, Anthony@Togal.AI, and we'd be happy to schedule that for you. And you can send over a set of your drawings. Hey, Kwasi, I see your question. Togal does not identify walls or doors on its own. No. What it does is it gives you this wall center line and it gives you the wall perimeter. And then I would go through this process of relabeling to my door types using my library. Door types and wall types. We also have the door center lines. So it's identified the doors and the walls, but the types, there's no automation for that. I would just relabel. Is there any capability for the software to recognize hatch patterns and measure automatically? Hatch patterns. Yeah, that would be the pattern search. Maybe you joined late. There's a pattern search. I can indicate a certain pattern, and Togal will recognize that and do kind of like an autofill, auto trace as such. Pavement and site work, absolutely. It's not doing earthwork. I wouldn't use it for like a cut and fill, but when you're doing, things like this, site work, this one's fairly simple. I can zoom in here. If I'm dealing with like white, it will autofill. So there's all the pavement. And then I can assign this to, for example, 8 inches of asphalt. I convert, I assign, and then I have my total area in square yards, cubic yards. I've priced it out per cubic yard. I have the linear footage of curb for perimeter. Other things, maybe like this, same deal. Hatching patterns, I can go to the legend, ask it to read this sidewalk. For sure, Larry. Saves a lot of time. Okay, I see people are starting to file out. We're still at 15 in here, so I will stay on and answer any other questions. Thank you, Thomas. Andres, regarding exporting and finalizing a proposal with all the info, can you show the process? Yes, I showed most of it here. So, as far as finalizing a proposal, we have no tool for that. The most I can do, here's our pattern search for the sidewalk for Larry. What I can do is I can put together the Excel sheet with your BOQ. I can download this into Excel as it's shown here, but this is not doing much else as far as a proposal. So all of that kind of still falls on you, or maybe a proposal tool. This is the end of your Togal process, is these quantities right here. Any other questions? Can it create a level sheet per trade? Create a full scope of each takeoff and notes. Explain that a little bit more. What is a level sheet per trade? Or is the second part of the explanation is full scope for each takeoff and notes? If I understand your question, I think what you're asking about is this Togal chat. So yes, you probably joined late. I explained this at the beginning. There's a Togal chat button where if I upload my spec book, I can tell it to create a scope of work. And you can be more specific on what kind of details you want. And this will write out your scope of work according to these plans and nothing outside of it. So it can only work with the information contained in these drawings. Hey there, anonymous attendee. I see your question. Absolutely. No, this is at the end of the day just a takeoff tool. If you're doing takeoffs right now in-house, you're probably using a software or not using a software at all. This is the most efficient option. It doesn't have to be as complex as I'm making it. We have thousands of home builders that have one license with us and they do all of their takeoffs in Togal. So it's as complex as you want to make it. The key part is that this makes it easy, regardless of what trade you want to take off. And I'd be happy to show you a custom demo with a simple drawing on a house if you want. Just email me at anthony@togal.ai. Okay, Larry, can you have a standard QTO template, say 30 standard items built in Togal Grid that will prompt you to provide measurements to complete the matrix? I don't know. That's a bit of a complicated question. What do you mean Togal Grid that will prompt you to provide measurements? Julia, do you establish valuations for bid amounts or a suggested method to come up with a bid number from the found measurements? This is completely up to you. The bidding process, the amounts, the costs. There's no part of the tool that has any kind of bidding functions really. This is our bread and butter is getting these quantities. Valuations for bid amounts or that's all. That's still on the user. Yeah, Julia, if you do multiple trades, you're absolutely able to cover them with one account. We have thousands of GCs using this who do just about every trade. And we also have subs focused on every trade as well. Larry, if you want to elaborate on your question, I'd be happy to answer it. Andres, does Togal Chat have any punch list generation options? I have no idea what that means. If you can elaborate on that as well, I'm happy to try to answer. Okay, think Microsoft Excel spreadsheet for the template, grid and matrix. Create a downstream mapping function into a separate estimating software. No, Larry, there's nothing like that. The process, you're pretty much downloading to Excel, and then from that Excel sheet that you make inside of Togal, you can you can do whatever you want with that. Obviously, that's just a loose Excel sheet, but there's no like integration or mapping function to plug into your estimating software. Now, I will say, without or I guess at the risk of um, going down a rabbit hole, we integrate with one estimating software. If you do want the takeoff to speak with your estimating, there's one form of doing that, and that's with our partner, Zebble.io. So Zebble is kind of like the Togal for estimating. Very, very cool new estimating software. And you can plug Togal into this if you have both. Now, I make no money off of this. I don't demo this. You'd have to go book a demo yourself, but this is a very, very good estimating tool as well. And we do have a partnership with them. So all of your Togal information can feed directly into Zebble rather than having to download the Excel sheet. So Larry, I mean, if you're on the market for changing both of those tools, your estimating, your takeoff, absolutely go talk to Zebble, and that would be a very efficient environment. All right, everyone. We're a little bit over. Thank you for the 12 of you who stayed and asked questions. This is awesome. If anyone has any other questions, please, again, Anthony at Togal.AI is my email. Go ahead and shoot me a message. I'll answer your questions. And if you want to, we can schedule a call. Julia, I'm sorry I missed what you said about Zebble. Was it Togal gets measurements and Zebble turns it to an estimated cost? Absolutely, yes. Zebble is an estimating software. Togal is a takeoff software. So if you want to take these quantities out of Togal, feed them directly into an estimating software, we have a direct integration with Zebble, and they are pretty sweet as far as doing all of the complex estimating. On the other hand, if you're just looking for estimating, that's where Zebble is standalone. We're just helping with the takeoff. Okay, everyone. I will stop sharing and I will let everyone get on with their day. Thank you so much for all the questions. Feel free to email me. Have a great rest of your week.